Okay, what's up, people? Welcome back to another stream. Hope everyone is doing well. As always, guys, if you are enjoying the streams, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. It does really help out. And of course, make sure you do go and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. Make sure you do check out the Elevating Traders Discord channel, completely free to join. You can find the link to that in the description below and also at the top of the chat. Join discussions, chat with other traders, chat with myself, share ideas. You can also find a lot more information regarding elevating traders there. So if you are interested, make sure you go check it out. But guys, welcome back to another stream. As always, good morning, Ahmed. Welcome back. Hope you're doing good. Campbell, what is up? Wagwan, what is up? Welcome to the stream. I am doing good. Hope you're well. So as always, guys, we'll go through the USD side of things first. Take a look at the dollar, USD majors, gold, silver, through some US indices as well. Any requests, any time frames you want me to take a look at, drop it down in the chat. And of course, we will have a look and discuss. But yeah, it's been pretty well, it's actually been pretty bearish for USD, but bullish for Euro USD here, flying to the upside. But we'll start with the DXY, which as a whole hasn't really done much apart from kind of slowly pushing to the downside. I'm expecting price to eventually reverse pretty soon, not in terms of a huge reversal, just price finding a bit of a pullback to continue lower. My expectation is still a push back into 101, which is support down here. Still looking for a push back into this area, which might take a while for us to get there. I'm hoping it does, because that'll probably mean a bit of a pullback. But at this rate, price is still looking pretty bearish. And I wonder if we are going to continue falling. But yeah, that my expectation is a lot more downside for the dollar. So I'm very, very short bias. I did say there might be some pullback opportunities to take advantage of the pullback itself. So if you are looking for some shorts in euro, shorts in pound, there might be some opportunities coming up, because USD still looks pretty tired, pretty fatigued. Pretty fatigued in this area. So I do think prices are likely to have a bit of a pullback at some point. Of course, difficult to say where and when, because at the moment we're kind of breaking through levels and not really respecting them much. So I do think the the buys are a bit aggressive. We got this low here, which price seems to be just about holding on to. So perhaps we can turn around from there. But as we look to the left, it does look like price is starting to break through that area. So I'll be a bit careful with the buys there for USD, although I do expect it to happen at some point. But be prepared for the market to kind of develop a little bit further, which could take a couple of days before we actually do get a correction. Excuse me, voice is a bit dry today. But in terms of where I'm looking to take the pullbacks from, hasn't changed. I'm still liking this level here at 104.5, and I'm still liking this level here at 105.5 roughly. So still waiting to see if we can get some pullbacks into those areas. Of course, that hasn't been we haven't got that pullback there just yet, so there's nothing really for me to do in terms of shorting the dollar or buying euro, buying pounds. Still waiting for those pullbacks. But the market is looking a bit tired, so I do think we'll have a pullback at some point. You just have to be patient. In terms of Euro USD, pretty much the exact opposite of the DXY. Still looking pretty tired as we do push to the upside. So again, expecting price to eventually have a bit of a pullback. Now that we've taken out these highs here on the left, perhaps we have a slightly bigger push, and we do have a bit of a correction coming on the cards. Again, I'm not really interested with the shorts, but I am looking for them because I want price to pull back. I'm more interested in the longs here. So again, with euro, keeping a close eye on this level here at 1.078, and also keeping a close eye on this area here at 1.06. Two really nice levels on the daily chart, which could give us a nice bounce to take euro much higher. What I am looking for Euro USD as I expand to the weekly chart is a push back into resistance up here. You can see that's where we got some major rejections, major wicks around the 1.05 to 1.1. I do think eventually price will actually go and take up the wick high here. But let's just get to that level first and then see how price reacts. Perhaps we do have a little bit of sell-off before that happens. So we might be talking about some sells before that. But yeah, very, very bullish on euro. Still looking for a bit of a reaction. At the moment, not really getting that. So we'll have to wait and see. Of course, there's a possibility that euro could just keep flying and pushing to the upside like so. If that's the case, that's the case. yeah, but I do want to see a bit of a pullback there for euro to get some longs. In terms of GBP USD, still pretty bullish on this one as well. Expecting a lot more upside, but again, still looking for a bit of a correction. I do like this level here for a long. Strong push, consolidation, another strong push, consolidation, another strong push. Looks like we're forming somewhat type of consolidation here as well, but it looks more like a corrective channel. So again, implying the price is running out of steam and we could be looking for a pullback at some point. I would really like a retest of this area here around the high of 1.27. That would be a really nice place for a long. We've broken through structure as well. Kind of got that big V-shaped pattern on the cards too. So expecting something like this and then more follow through. Again, pound USD has the capacity to get back to the swing high here. If we are going to try and kind of continue this uptrend, very, very slow, staggered uptrend, but it does fit the cards. Price to come back and respect the swing low pretty well. So if that's the case, we could be looking for a big swing to 1.35. But of course, before that, we need to see some pullback. So that's really what I'm waiting for. Perhaps there could be some nice sales to take advantage of the pullback. Not really my cup of tea. I'm more focused with the buys. But yeah, looking for a pullback there for GBP USD. Dollar CAD, I'm still kind of short on this one. Did see a nice drop yesterday. Price finally picked up some momentum, and we had some really nice bearish pressure there yesterday. So still looking for a bit more downside into 1.415, which is the low here. Again, the plan for the trade was essentially looking to call the next pullback for continuation back into the low. We had the high over there, lovely push to the downside. Markets pullback, came back to respect resistance, had a really strong rejection, hopped into the trade there, stops above the high. Price did come back for a retest of the zone, so that would have been a nice place for some re-entries. And since then, we haven't really looked back and we've been looking pretty bearish. So hopefully we can continue. We do have some support here to contend with, so we'll see if we can break through that. If we do see a strong rejection from this area, I may contemplate closing the trade early because I don't want price to be stuck between the support again. I want price to be breaking through. So I may close the trade early if I do see some strong rejection off that level. But if we can catch a break, great. Then there's a good chance price does get to 1.415. And maybe for some opportunities, a break and retest of that could look good on the lower time frames. In terms of Aussie dollar, still pretty bullish here. Haven't quite taken out the high here yet, but looks like we're slowly picking up the pace, getting ready to. Ends the USD, I'm pretty sure saw a really big move yesterday. So I think Aussie dollar is kind of lagging behind a little bit. But again, the idea is that price is respecting a really strong level of support. I'm looking for price to kind of turn around from that area. It may not be a big reversal that price completely rockets back to 0.69, but we might see at least a correction of 50% of this move, even if price wants to later continue to the downside. That could be the situation. But for now, expecting some buys there for pound. In terms of opportunity, looking for something like this, break past the highs and a pullback, perhaps to come back and retest that resistance. That could be a really nice trade setup. Again, I might take a few days to actually set up, but I don't really have a clean buy setup just yet. I need price to really show me some follow through, break through the highs. In that case, we've got low, high, higher low, and then higher high. And then I'll be looking for my pullbacks retest to take Aussie dollar to the upside. Ends the USD similar situation, but this one looks a lot cleaner because you've had a really nice break to the upside, a lot of momentum in that move. Looks like this sell here was a bit of a fake kind of drop because prices came straight back to the upside, had a bit of a correction, and now saw a lot more follow through to the upside. So pretty confident we could see more upside here with NZD. Just looking for us to get a bit of a pullback going. I like the retest of the high here. Strong break, never had a retest of it. So it's a fresh level of support. So if price was to come back there, there would be a pretty good chance we do bounce. Of course, got to judge how we get there and how we react before finding entries. But I do think that would be a really nice place for a long. And then at least a push back into the high. But again, for NZD, I do think we can go further. Expanding to the weekly chart, price is respecting this level pretty well on the left. I do think we can at least have a correction of 50% of this bearish leg here. So 50% would take us back into this area around 0.5, 597, 594, anywhere around that area. I do think we can have a bit of a correction into that level. So I still do see more upside for NZUSD, and that could be a nice kind of area to potentially target. It looks like we're coming back into some resistance, not too far away. So that might give us a bit of a pullback there on the left. Just mark on the chart. We might pull back from there a little bit. I do expect to see more upside. We're starting to put some higher lows in now, which is great. Ooh, there we go, which is great. So just looking for the next pullback and the next high low. In terms of gold, so gold just doing gold things right now, breaking to the upside. We've smashed through 3K. And yeah, looking very, very bullish. So I think there's a nice opportunity for gold on the lower time frames. If I even drop to the 30-minute time frame here. Yeah, prices just had another beautiful move to the upside. So what you would be looking for is a bit of a correction now, and a continuation off the back of that, at least back to the prior high, wherever that forms, and then looking for potentially a trading stop loss, because you don't know how far gold can go. So trading stops for gold is actually not a bad idea, because it's a market that could explode really, and trading stops will allow you to take advantage of that move. But I think if we can get a pullback into this range here, I think that'll be a great place for a buy, preferably lower time frames, just to really refine that entry. But yeah, there's not much to say with gold apart from there's a lot of momentum, and expecting more upside, to be honest. Market is bullish across all the major time frames. I did say I was looking for a pullback into this area. Not too sure if I'll get that anymore. I mean, I'll still keep an eye on it if it does shape up, but it's safe to say price is looking really bullish. I think the next best opportunity for gold will look something like this, retest, and then another drive to the upside. Yep, it is still very, very bullish. Okay, so I'll go through silver. Okay, so silver looking very bullish as well. Again, I was looking to see if silver can have a bit of a pullback into this area. Just missed it. Looking for more of a minor pullback there. Probably some entries on the 30-minute chart or hourly. But yeah, even silver was too bullish to pull back into that zone. We're looking pretty bullish now. Daily chart looking really strong. We broke through major resistance here last week, and since that has made its move, I'm expecting price to get back into the swing high here at 34.848. Yeah, and just looking for pullbacks really for silver. I'm expecting silver to do something similar to, as gold is doing, and go and break through the highs there. So if you can find some longs for silver, you're in a good climate for a nice long. I still like that area. If price does pull back there, I think that's still a nice level. If we do go and break to the upside again strongly, then of course the retest this high will now become of use to us for potentially some retests and some pullbacks as well. But the way I see it, silver's still very, very bullish. Not interested in shorts at all, and expecting new highs into 35 pretty soon. So yeah, just looking for some pullbacks for silver and some more longs. So that's pretty much where I'm at with USD side of things. What's up, Arusha? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Thatu, happy to have you on the stream, my man. Welcome, welcome. Good morning, Dark Sean. Welcome to the stream. How high will GJ go? Yep, yen pairs are breaking to the upside pretty aggressively right now. I'll go take a look at GJ in a second. Follow the trend. What is up? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're good. Yes, we'll take a look at Euro Yen, no problem. What's up, kiddos? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. What is up, CYZ5I? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Tetelestai, welcome to the stream. What should take a pound NSD? Look for bearish coming in. Okay, we'll take a look at pound NSD as well. What's up, Raw29? Welcome, new subscriber. Welcome to the gang. Hope you're doing good. Welcome on board. Hope you're enjoying the content. Excuse me, voice a bit croaked today. Do I think the yen pairs are under correction currently? Momentum looks scary. Yeah, it does look pretty scary. Very, very bullish at the moment. I'm still long-term bearish, so I'm still looking for these bullish moves to fade and push back down, and we'll go through a bunch of the yen pairs. So I'll share my thoughts exactly I'll take a look at pound yen, euro yen first, and pound NZD. Then we'll go through the rest of them. But yeah, how high would GJ go? Well, from my weekly analysis, I said that GJ probably will break to the upside because it looks like price is just not breaking down. I mean, that's a good way to kind of look at things. If prices try to push the downside multiple times but still failing, well, then it's probably going to break to the other direction. So we've had clear support here on the left. Prices tried to break through a few times, and we've had multiple rejections. So finally, looks like prices exploded to the upside. But my expectation is still a push back to the wick low here. Price hasn't done anything that has changed that bias. We haven't broken for any major structure. We've just kind of broken out of this kind of weird range that we've had over the past few days. And I'm still mainly focused on these lower swing highs. 1, 2, over there. Now I'm looking at roughly a third one as we approach this range here as well. There is a bit of a trend line here too. So there's some nice confluence as we approach kind of 195, 196, possibly even 197. So I'm looking for a little bit more upside for GJ into these areas before we do turn around. And possibly it could be a really big move because it could eventually take us back into 180. That's kind of what I'm looking at long term. Probably won't look to swing that in one move. That would be a pretty big trade. You'd be looking at a 1,600 pip drop there, which is pretty big even for GJ standards. So yeah, it would be a pretty big move, but I do think the possibility is there. If we do form a lower high, I would at least expect us to come back into support. If we can crack through that, then the wick low is likely to be taken. But at the moment, still looking pretty bullish. We're coming into areas of resistance, but we just had a recent breakout here. So I think we probably will see a bit of a correction. But I do expect to see higher prices still. So I think longs on an intraday point of view could look really good, especially if price can correct and come back and retest some areas around here, which is 193. I think that's a nice place for a buy. Strong break to the upside, bit of a correction, likely to keep pushing. You can see all the high lows prices being printing here for pound yen. Looks like we're just continuing with that. So looking for essentially the next one and a push to the upside. There might be some very intraday sells from here. Price come back into a big level at 194,600. You can see we did reject here pretty aggressively, big drop to the downside. So might be some nice short-term sells here with pound yen, looking for a push into 193. But I do think we'll probably see some higher prices still for pound yen. Looking at the yen basket as well, I've been keeping a close eye on this one because, of course, it's a good indication in terms of what the yen pairs are going to do. We had a really nice rounded top here, so price was trying to break to the upside, but we're failing. And yeah, it looks like price has cracked through support now. So with yen basket, I'm looking at a couple areas. There's a big level around here, around 6,500, we'll call it. I'm looking to see if we can pull back into that area. As I whip out the fib, we've got the 0.618 roughly in that area there too. So I'm kind of looking to see if we can come into roughly this area for the JPY basket. We've already pushed into the 50s, so we might start to slow down now. But the way we've had a strong impulse to the upside, consolidation, and a push down, it has left behind some really strong resistance just above us over there. If I drop to the 4-hour chart, it's going to be difficult for us to get back above that. So I do think we'll probably get another drop there for pound yen. But then again, I do expect us to eventually turn around. So yeah, yen pair's not looking too good at the moment. A lot of momentum. I do think we'll probably see a bit more of the same. I'm looking at 6,500 for price to turn around there for the yen basket. And we're not quite there yet. Still could take 2-3 more bearish days for us to get there. And if we're going to keep falling for the yen basket, it means we're going to keep rising for the other yen pairs as well. So GJ, although testing some nice resistance in the lower time frames, I do think price is likely to continue pushing. However, I think a correction would look nice, a retest, and then some buys to the upside. Then from 196, 197, I think that could be a nice place that we do turn around from. But of course, I can map out areas of where price could turn around, but the most important indicator of price is price itself. So you can map out different areas, great. but a big part of it is to see how price gets there, how we react, whether it actually makes sense to short from those levels. So those are the areas I'm looking at as potential we could sell off from, but we're going to see how price gets there and then make the final call when price is at those areas. In terms of euro yen as well, I was keeping a close eye to short this one. I was looking to short around 162, but I didn't really see much of a confirmation, but I did hold back looking to trade it just because of my bias on the yen basket. It looked like the yen basket was going to drop. So if the yen basket is going to drop, that means yen's going to be weak. So I don't really want to be shorting euro yen with an expectation of a weak yen. And euro yen was kind of out of sync with the other yen pairs as well because euro has been so strong. So it's kind of had a big pullback already, whilst other yen pairs are just getting to do their pullbacks now. So for those reasons, I stayed away from euro yen. I'm still looking for a big short for this one. I'm still looking for price to take up the wick low there as well. We still do have a really big head and shoulder pattern here. Left head and right shoulder. I'm still looking for price to reverse. But I want to see what we do because we formed a high over there. Nice push down. Formed a low. Another lower high. Another lower low. So are we still going to form another lower high? Possibly. We have broken through this trend line here. So that's an indication that we might not. So we need to be a bit wary of that. We do have that 200 moving average resistance above us, well, just below us now in that area, but more so we're in an area which a lower high could form. The market's a bit stretched, but like I said, the yen basket might still have a bit more downside left, which still implies a bit more yen weakness. So being a bit careful here with euro yen. We could still potentially push back to the highs here first before a big sell too. I wouldn't be surprised if we get to 166. I am looking for some shorts for euro yen, but being a bit cautious. Yen still looks like it might be a bit weak for a little bit longer. Therefore, shorting euro yen is always going to be a difficult proposition there. So being a bit careful there. It is a nice area to short, but price action is not quite ready yet. Looking at the lower time frames, everything is still pretty bullish. Looks like having a bit of rejection there. Might see a bit of a correction, but how long will that last? That's the question. But I'm still getting ready to short euro yen. Pound NZD, I'll have a look at next. What's up, Yusuf? Hope you're doing good. I'm well. Alex, good morning. Yes, we'll take a look at gold, US 30, NAS, no problem. What's up, Bish? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. New subscriber, love to see it, my man. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Appreciate that, Ahmed. Smash the like button and share with your friends. Yeah, if you do have any trading friends or even friends that are not trading, share with them as well. Maybe you can welcome them into the trading world. But yeah, I do really appreciate it, guys. If you are enjoying the stream, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell as well, so you don't miss on any streams or uploads in the future. But yeah, I do really appreciate the likes, guys. Thank you for that. So yeah, GJ is a crazy one. I mean, all the yen pairs are very very volatile. Anyway, we'll go through pound NZD, then we'll take a look at some of the indices and gold as well. So pound NZD's had some nice downside. Looks like price is correcting itself. Again, we pointed this out yesterday that after price does create a new high, what tends to happen? We tend to correct on ourselves. So price pushes up, correction. We have another big push here. What happens? Eventually price corrects. Another push to the upside. What happens? Eventually price corrects. So the pullback was imminent, especially with the signs we were getting on the lower time frames in terms of how corrective price was there. Eventually, we've had a really nice swing to the downside. I still think price can come a little bit further, to be honest, for pound NZD. Not quite ready, looking for some upside. I want price to at least come back and retest these areas, and then we can consider some buys. Because although we are forming highs and price keeps correcting itself, we are still very, very consistent with all of these high lows. Every time the market does have a dip, it just forms a high low and it's on its way. So I think there's a good chance we could probably see another one form and possibly another swing back to where we came from into the high as well. So we are now pulling back into bullish territory here for pound NZD. It's been a pretty aggressive move, but I do want to see a little bit more downside, maybe some corrective behavior before we do talk about some buys. And this level here at 2.15, I think looks like a really nice place for a long. So yeah, pound NZD, I think it's getting really nice, getting to a nice place for a buy. Not quite there yet. We looking for bearish coming in. We've kind of already seen the bearish momentum come into play. You know, this move is already there. We might still see more of it. That could be the case, but right now we're coming more into bullish territory. So I wouldn't be looking for sells anymore unless price has a pretty big pullback. Let's say we come back to retest some structure around here, then of course that might be a nice sell to continue momentum. But as we come lower, this is bullish territory, so I wouldn't really be looking to sell anymore. The sell's kind of already been done. So yeah, I would watch out for that. Okay, so next we'll go through gold and US 30 and NAS. And we'll probably take a look at S&P whilst we're there as well. I appreciate Lighton. Okay, so let's go through gold first, and then we'll go through the indices all together. So with gold, yeah, it's just very, very bullish. There's not much to do with gold, to be honest, apart from look for pullbacks, especially in the lower time frames, because we've had a strong move there, correction, big move there, correction, another big move there as well. And price hasn't really come back to retest either one of these areas. So if we can make a retest, there's a good chance that price is going to bounce at those levels. But since we had a more tightly knit consolidation and the breakout hasn't been too crazy, this is something you want to be looking at more in the lower time frames, perhaps the 30-minute or the hourly time frame. It's kind of where you find a decent setup in terms of risk to reward. And yeah, to swing it back to the high and potentially just trail stops and let price do its thing. But yeah, very, very bullish on gold. I still like this level here at 29.20. But I'm not too sure if we get that pullback, at least not for this week anyway. It's going to be a pretty big move for us to get pulled back into that zone. So I'm kind of putting that to one side for the moment. But yeah, really nice breakout for gold. We smashed through 3K, perhaps 3,100 is our next target, which is all the way up there. Still pretty far away, to be honest. I'll probably keep an eye on 3050 as well. So yeah, pullbacks for gold and expecting more upside. Let's go through some of the indices. So I'm expecting a bit of retracement for the indices. Of course, they've been very bearish the past couple of weeks, dropping to the downside very aggressively. NAS has broken through key support. We've broken through the 200 moving average as well, which is pretty significant, especially for the indices because they do respect it pretty well. And since they do have that overall trend, overall uptrend at play, the 200 does kind of encompass the trend pretty well. So when the 200 does break, it's a pretty strong indication that the trend's either having a larger correction or we might be in a big bear market. Sometimes it could be a fake out as well. But at the moment we are below the 200. So I do expect a bit of a move to the upside in terms of a correction, but I am looking for more downside longer term for NAS. So I did say at the start of the week, if price can come back and retest support, that could be a nice buy opportunity. Looks like we are breaking to the upside, but we haven't really broken with much momentum there. So I wouldn't be too excited. But I am expecting some retracement, and then we can see what we do around 2,600. I think that'll be a nice place for a short for us to come back down again. And then, yeah, we'll see what price does from there. But yeah, NAS 100, expecting some buys for a pullback and some shorts later on. In terms of US 30, this one, I'm not as big of a fan in terms of the shorts because we didn't really have such a big breakout of the support. We only just about cleared it. If you compare NAS's breakout to US 30, NAS really took command and really broke through support very well. Whereas US 30, we've only just about cleared it, which means it's not as confident in the breakout and it doesn't attract me to be looking to sell it as much. When I'm looking to take break and retest, I want to see a strong break because that indicates that momentum was really in charge and price is less likely to give us a fake out if the breakout was strong and cleared it by a big distance. When the breakouts are slight and very corrective and slow, they have a high chance of being fake outs, which is something we want to avoid unless you're looking to trade fake outs. Then of course that's something you're looking for. But yeah, Nas, nice break to downside. US 30 notes so much. So I'm actually looking to see if we can come a little bit higher. There's some areas up here which I'm considering. Some nice consolidation there where we have some nice breaks to the downside. I do think those areas could actually be some nice places for some shorts with NAS. So looking for a little bit more of a pullback than I am with US 30 and S&P. S&P also had a really nice break to the downside as well. So this one, I wouldn't mind the retest of the zone because we really broke through that level. We weren't messing around, and we do have that 200 moving average just above us. And you can see that price does respect the 200 pretty well, and it keeps the trend pretty bullish. And when we do break it, we do tend to reverse as we did over there. There was a slight break, but we recovered very quickly. Because we haven't recovered yet, yeah, I do think we'll probably see some more downside. So again, for S&P, looking for a little bit more upside in that correction, retest some support, now turn resistance, and that could give us a nice short for the S&P as well. So indices, I do think more downside is definitely on the cards. Things are looking pretty bearish. Yeah, as we get more of a correction, I do think price is likely to keep falling. Yeah, if this was a bit of a fake drop, I would expect the price to recover very quickly. But because we're taking our time, I do think we're probably going to keep falling there for the indices. So yeah, hopefully that's made some sense. Dark Sean, yesterday experimented with NAS and US 30 and demo. Okay, use simple scalping strategy breakouts and you're open. They say it works. It does work well, and trade is done in 10-15 minutes. Okay, nice. Yeah, if you're finding some success on other markets, I do recommend adding it to your watch list in terms of the market you trade, because sometimes GJ won't always look good. Most of the time there'll always be some setups, especially if you're looking at the 5-minute chart. But not every setup is worthwhile. Some will look a lot better than others, and those are the trades you want to be taking. And then if you're looking at US 30 and NAS, when GJ is not looking that great, sometimes NAS will be looking really good. And instead of wasting energy in trying to catch a trade in GJ when it's not looking that great, if NAS is looking good, then you might as well just spend your time there, or US 30. So I do like having multiple pairs to kind of pick and choose from. When pairs are doing really well, that's when I focus on them, and of course when they're not, I want to stay away. So if you're finding some nice consistency with some other pairs, other markets, I do recommend to dabble into. Of course, you don't have to go straight in. You can always build up your confidence with them, but it's definitely something to look at. Do you trade supply and demand? No, not really, but I'm aware of the concepts. Again, the way I look at supply and demand really is just momentum and consolidation, really, because that's where price is building up, and then it eventually does break out. So I do look at that in my trading. Again, I try not to give things too many labels. It's kind of just price action. See what price does. It's a pattern. It repeats itself. So I'm more focused on support resistance. That's my bread and butter, but I do keep an eye on areas where price does consolidate from, because when we do tend to consolidate and have a strong breakout, like for example over here, a strong break to the downside after consolidation, you can see price came back to retest and then continued as well. So that's kind of a pattern that, as I've been trading, I've kind of picked up along the way, which is a lot of what people look at supply as and demand as well. Of course, the inverse of that. So yeah, I guess so a little bit, but my main focus is support resistance. Okay, so I'll go through the rest of the yen pairs. Yen pairs have looked very, very bullish in fairness. I'm still got that bearish bias for them. It's just not the right time to be shorting them. For example, dollar yen's already had a big move to the downside. We swept through some lows here on the left. Now's not the time to be looking to short the market, unless, of course, you're on the lower time frames. Again, you can short or buy in the market anywhere, but in terms of a swing bias, now's not necessarily the best time to be looking to short. I do think we can have a bit of a correction. If I draw the fib from the high to the low, got the 50 around there. That's perhaps where price could be looking to pull back into. There's a pretty big level of resistance just above us over here. I wonder if price is going to come back and retest that zone there, which is just below 50, but we might tag into the 50 anyway as well. So I'm looking for dollar yen to reverse big time. I'm still looking for a push all the way into 140, but I just have to be careful with my timing and making sure I'm actually taking a good trade and not just jumping into the chart, because I just expect price to be bearish. But yep, with dollar yen expecting a bit more upside, looks like prices climb back above some key support here as well. So I do think for dollar yen, we'll likely see a bit of a correction and probably another push to the upside later in the week. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at for dollar yen for now. Like I said, it's still very bearish long term, but it's not the best time to be looking to buy. CAD Yen, we've had a big move to the upside as well this week. Price took out some major lows last week actually, and we did it very, very correctively, which is why I was under the impression that CAD Yen was likely to break to the upside, because you see how corrective we are. When price moves in this type of manner, it does normally mean that we are ready to push in the opposite direction, because the market's very fatigued, very tired. So it's not likely to keep falling. And buyers are coming into the market and slowing price down, and eventually we do turn around. And that's what we've had with CAD Yen. But I do think we've got a little bit more upside in the tank. I do think we can still push a little bit higher. If I draw the fib from the high here to the low, I do think price can get back to at least the retest of this area, which is 106. I do think we can come back into that area there and possibly sell from that level there too. So yeah, really waiting for Kajin to push into that area. You can see in the daily chart as well how many wicks we were getting. So we were no longer getting very strong, bearish candles like such, which are normally an indication of momentum and driving power. These are the candles that kind of really drive the market. When we're seeing candlesticks like this with wicks all over the place, there's a sign that we are slowing down, especially with the fact that we're taking out a major low like such. It was a good idea that price is about to turn around. So now that we have turned around and momentum is looking pretty bullish on the 4-hour chart, again, I do think we can have a bit of a correction before seeing some upside, perhaps the retest of the high here. That could be a nice place for a long, actually. We've just gone and taken out quite a few highs here on the left as well. And yeah, now that we had formed a high low over here now, this is a higher high. Now looking for the retest and a continuation to the upside. And that to me looks like a nice place for a buy. And as I said, for targets, expecting at least a 50% correction. A retest that low would be a nice confluence to attract price for a retest as well. So that would be a nice kind of swing trade there to look at for CAD Yen after we kind of broken out of this channel here. So yeah, I mean, again, with CAD Yen long term, I'm still looking for price to really come back down. I'm still looking for us to push back into 94 eventually. But first, I do think a pullback is on the horizon. So kind of waiting for price to do that. And then we can talk about some sells later on. And it looks like CAD is also finding some strength as well. CAD's been very, very weak. So it looks like CAD is finally finding its feet a little bit. In terms of Aussie yen and New Zealand yen, these guys have been pretty bullish as well, particularly New Zealand yen. This one as well, Aussie, I'm still expecting this wick low to be taken out. We do have a big range here for Aussie yen, big consolidation here. This is kind of what gave us a big drop to the downside. Looks like price is coming back to retest that. I'm looking at if price can have a bit of a correction of this whole bearish leg here. So I'm looking for a slightly deeper test into this area, more so around 97. maybe even 98 before we do have the big continuation back into the wick low here on the left. Because right now it looks to me that price has had a nice double bottom here. You can see one spike, a second spike there, kind of forming that double bottom, and price is now reversed to the upside. So this is a bullish indication. I know coming back into resistance here, but I do think we're likely to sell off and then probably push to the upside some more. So yeah, looking around 97, 98 for some sales there for Aussie yen. Looking very, very bullish. And but yeah, I'm still very bearish though. Still expecting this wick low to go. So my focus is not really on the buys on the way up. My focus is on the sells on the way back down, because that's what I expect more pips to be. That's what I expect a big move to be. So very, very focused on the shorts for now. In terms of New Zealand yen as well, this has been pretty bullish too. This one actually just missed out on the wick low. So if I take that across, you can see price just missed out on the wick low there as well. I do think eventually we will take it out, but it looks like price just wants to have a pullback first. Then you see the spikes here to the low. Price is really failing to break support. And it looks like now we're having a bit of a correction. So again, similar to Aussie yen, measuring the fib from the high to the low. This gives us healthy areas for a pullback. You can see the 0.5, 0.618 lines up pretty well with the consolidation here on the left. So that's kind of what I'm expecting New Zealand to get into before potentially we do turn around for another sell. Perhaps the 200 moving average might catch up there with price a little bit too. But again, the way I see it is that we've had a big push down, markets consolidated here, and now we've had a big break to the upside, which is kind of like a big V-shaped pattern. I drag that across, push down, consolidation, big push. This is normally a sign of reversal, so I expect a bit of a correction and more upside as well. Perhaps as we do come into resistance here on the left, we might stall a little bit. But yeah, I do think we're likely just to correct, just to push on further. So yeah, yen pairs, although I'm very bearish, it does look like prices like to keep pushing up. Really strong, aggressive moves this week. I do think it's the start of potentially a bigger pullback for the yen pair. So I'm not quite ready to be shorting just yet. In terms of CHF JPY as well, this one did break to the upside. Very aggressive push. We broke out of this consolidation here, which we've been in for a while. Price has been respecting support pretty well. Again, with this one, looking at a correction of this leg. If I whip out the fib from the high to the low, we've got 50, 0.618. So this is the area I'm expecting price to get into. Again, we've got some highs on the left here, which we're looking for us to come back and retest as well. So, and there's possibly a trend line, which we might retest. I'm not too sure if we have a pullback as big enough for that. But that's a possibility. We've got one high over there, nice swing low. Second lower high over there, nice swing low. Perhaps we could go and put a third one in, retest the trend line and see a nice swing low there as well. But we've had multiple attempts to break the low. We kind of failed, eventually broke to the upside now. So yeah, at least looking for 171 to 172 for Swiss yen. Then perhaps when we're there, we can start speaking about some sells if things look good to take price back down again. But yeah, for now, still looking like a bit more upside, and perhaps there could be some nice longs as well. Got a nice breakout of the range here, leaving behind some solid resistance below us. Also breaking some structure here just about as well. So I do think a pullback to retest some of these areas will probably provide some nice longs there around 169. And you can take it back into that 171, 172 area there as well. So yeah, the way I see it, yen pairs looking like they're reversing. Big breaks to the upside recently. Momentum looks good. Still got some areas just above where we're trading, where I'm expecting price to get to. So I think for the next day or two, we'll probably will see a bit more yen weakness, upside for the yen pairs, and then maybe later in the week. So right at the end or start of next week, we might get some nice sells. But still looking pretty bullish for now. Campbell, how do you explain liquidity? Well, liquidity is just implying where, well, there's multiple ways to look at it. Liquidity is is, well, how liquid a market is, how easy it is bought and sold, how many participants, the positions in the market. If you're looking for liquidity in terms of technical patterns, so where price may manipulate orders to potentially grab liquidity to see a move in the opposite direction, that's kind of how I look at fake outs, really keeping it very, very simple. No need to kind of overcomplicate things. Liquidity is going to be below big lows and big highs. This is where you're going to find a lot of liquidity, where price could potentially manipulate to potentially move in the opposite direction. And the way I just look at it is a fake out. Price has a level of resistance or a big structure in the market. We potentially might manipulate that and break to the upside to then eventually break in the opposite direction. So the way I look to trade it is wait for the fake out to happen. So let's say this is a big high in the market, price breaks through it, we come back below, retest it, and then this is where you can find a really nice trade opportunity, because we're back below the resistance. You can put your stop loss above the high there and still capitalize on a really big swing, and avoid the fake out as well, because you're entering after. So that's kind of really how I look to try and take advantage of fake outs. Wait for price to have the manipulation and then come back to retest the level, and then you get your sell. Sort of what happened here, although we didn't really come back for a retest for a while until actually over here. Sometimes the retests are a little bit more quicker than that, like this, but in this case, it only came back over there. But you can see here, really strong support, price kind of dipped below, and then we pushed to the upside. That's a really powerful pattern that happens a lot. And you can really incorporate that into your trading as well. But yeah, the way I just see liquidity in terms of technical patterns is just fake outs, really. It could be a trend line, it could be a support and resistance level, it could be a fib level, it could be a consolidation that price kind of manipulates as well. So yeah, that's kind of how I keep things simple, and you can incorporate that into your trading pretty easily. What's up, CS Integrated? Hope you are well. Any insights of DXY, short-term buy or risk too high? Okay, I'll take a look at DXY. Yes, Lighton, we'll take a look at USDZR as well. So DXY, I am pretty bearish on this one as a whole. So expecting a lot more downside, but I do think there could be some short-term buys on the cards, because the market is pretty stretched. We've had a drop since the 3rd of March. We've pretty much been in free fall since then. We've been slowing down here and there, but overall the market has been really, really bearish. So I'm expecting to see some upside pretty soon here for US for the US index. Sorry, I do think we'll see some upside. We are trading at a big low here on the left as well, which gave us a really strong push. I believe this was the US elections, actually, 5th of November. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was the US elections, big push to the upside. And so this is the first time that price is actually back there since we had the elections, which is interesting. But yeah, the way I see it, price is still looking really, really tight right now. So I do think we're likely to have a bit of a bounce. I would say I would want to see price push through the low here first before looking for a buy. And I want to see some really aggressive rejection as well. If I'm looking for a trade which is a bit more aggressive, like this one, and trying to take a buy when the market is clearly falling against you, you want to see some really exaggerated rejection. And a good way to measure that is big wicks. Price can try and push the downside but wick back up. That's a really good sign that price is struggling to break through support. And even entering on the wicks there could be a nice way to enter the market a little bit earlier and take advantage of a reaction. And another key thing is not to be too aggressive with your targets as well, because you might get a nice entry like so. Let's say you get a nice wick down, a nice failed attempt to break lower. We catch a nice bounce to the upside, but price could very much form another lower high, and it could eventually go against us. So being prepared to close the trade a bit early is something to keep note of, because yes, you might catch, the reversal and a push to the upside, but because there's so much momentum in the market, it's always difficult to see that move. Probability says that we're likely to keep falling rather suddenly turn around. So if price does start showing signs that we're about to fall over, that is a bit of a sign to call the trade early and walk away and potentially look for the next entry. But yeah, I do think we're in a nice place where price is likely to turn around. So although it is an aggressive buy, I do think we're in a nice place for a buy. So I do agree. Expecting to have 105. Yeah, that's what I'm looking to sell from, to be honest. 104.5 is a really nice resistance on the daily chart, and that's what I'm expecting dollar to actually get to before we do make that sell. But the funny thing is, price could still keep melting, to be honest. Doesn't necessarily have to pull back from where we are. We could still see a push to 102.5 before we pull back. So that is definitely a possibility. But yeah, I think we're in a nice place for a buy. It's an aggressive trade, as we can all kind of realize that. And because it's an aggressive trade, I want an aggressive reaction to kind of counteract that. Um, and if we can get one, great, and that could invite some nice buys. But yeah, I do agree. 104.5 looks good. So that's actually where I'm looking to have my first attempt to sell the dollar. If that doesn't hold, then I'm looking at 105.5 up here. Ooh, didn't mean to do that. So yeah, if that doesn't hold, then I'm looking for 105.5 up there. But similar targets back down at support there. So yeah. Okay, so we'll go through USD next. Also, any levels on possible reversal on Aussie dollar? Do you mean possible reversal in terms of sales for Aussie dollar? But I will have a look at it for you. Emmanuel, welcome to the stream. Selling Aussie Chef. Please have a look. Okay, we'll have a look at that. Maybe also check the weekly views. These are just for high time frame context. So I'll see the touch on a dynamic support. Alrighty then. Okay. If I can spell, there we go. So USDZAR. Let's have a look. See. So yeah, the way I see it for USDZAR is that we had an attempt to try and break to the upside, and that momentum has basically spilled over. A lot of momentum in these candlesticks. We stalled there for a couple of months. Now it looks like price is breaking to the downside out of that. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we are going to come back and retest support down here now and continue falling. Weekly chart, kind of like a slow, staggered move, but the way I see it is that we've had some really strong resistance over there on the left, was holding a support for a while. Price is now broken through. Last week candle, big piercing wick to the upside, closed below bearish. So that's kind of price going back to retest it and reject. So I do think now we can see some follow through and a bit of a drop there. And like I said, possibly back into the swing low at 17.2. So the way I see it, things look pretty bearish here for USDZAR, and I do think price would like to keep falling. Heading to the daily chart, not looking much better either. It looks like we're taking out that wick low there as well. You kind of refine that level to support here. Really nice breakout there, and prices looks like it's on its way. So I do think there's more downside here to be had for USDZAR. In terms of entries, that's where it gets a bit difficult because now's not the best time to be looking to short. Just after prices taking out these lows here, also looking a little bit fatigued, not necessarily seeing a lot of momentum here to the downside as well. So there actually might be a temporary buy opportunity to take it back up into resistance here. There is some nice consolidation on the left there that we might tap into before seeing some upside. So I'd watch out for that. So yeah, with USDZAR, I do think we are likely to have a big sell. Like I said, possibly back to the lows, but this is kind of bullish territory right now, which might give us a bit of a push to the upside, which could be a blessing because that might be a pullback for us to keep shorting, potentially find the next lower high. You know, we've got one over there. Perhaps we get the second and now the third, and that could be a nice trade idea, maybe later this week. But this is bullish territory, so expecting a bit of a bullish reaction before we do continue selling. Maybe if you can fall a little bit further, test this area, that might be actually a nice short-term buy opportunity for USDZAR. So yeah, it's looking pretty bearish to me there. What's up, Tony Gold? Hope you're well. Welcome to the streamer, man. Okay, so we'll take a look at Aussie dollar, then we'll go through Aussie CHF. Okay, buy levels if Aussie retraces. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so I'll take a look at Aussie dollar, then we'll go through Aussie CHF. So in terms of Aussie dollar, very, very bullish on this one. Looking for more upside. However, I'm not quite ready to be looking to long yet. It's his partner in crime, NZD/USD, looks a little bit better in terms of the buy. Actually, it looks a lot better in terms of the buy. I'll take a look at that in a second. But yeah, I'm expecting more upside. But what I'm waiting for personally is for price to go and break through the high here at 0.64. Because if price breaks through that resistance, it tells me that, okay, this swing here was just price swing a high low. Now we've gone and broken to the upside. We create a higher high. So most likely we're going to pull back, form a higher low, and continue. So really what I want to see is this break to the upside. That really completes the bullish move and allows me to be looking for pullbacks and perhaps the retest of the high here at 0.63580. So that's really what I'm interested in for Aussie dollar. We might see a bigger correction into this area here. So I think that's also an area to consider around 0.633. That might be a nice place for a long as well. But yeah, very, very bullish on Aussie dollar. I wouldn't be looking for the break and retest of the level just yet. I know we've just broken through, but the breakout's a bit shallow. We haven't taken up major highs. This is still kind of bearish territory to me, which could give us a sell. So it's not quite ready yet to be looking to board, at least from a swing bias anyway. Depends what time frames you're looking on. If you're looking at hourly chart, I like the pullbacks here. Let's say if we get a bigger pullback into 0.633, I think that looks good. I still wouldn't really be entertaining that pullback there until we break the highs first. So yeah, Aussie dollar, I'll keep a close eye on 0.636 if we can break the high. I like 0.632 there as well. Even if you don't break the high and just pull back, I think that's still a nice buy in the lower time frames. But a great confluence for the trade will be price breaking through the highs, seeing a new higher high, and then go from a pullback from there. NZD/USD, like I said, looks a lot better because we've actually taken out that same high. We've obliterated through that. We've done it with a lot of momentum as well. So it's left behind a really nice level for a long. So I'm waiting to see if NZD/USD can retrace, come back and retest 0.575. That to me looks like a really nice place for a long, expecting to push back into resistance. There's some major resistance just above us here. That could be a nice target, 0.586. And I've also drawn the fib from the high there to the low, marked out 50% there. I think that could be a place where price is attracted towards in the longer term. But the high lows are stacking up, looking for the next one. I think the buys are looking pretty good there. So NZD/USD actually looks really good for the longs, a little bit better than Aussie dollar. They're very similar pairs, so they do the same thing. But Aussie dollar, I'm not quite ready to buy this one yet. We're still kind of into bearish territory on the left here. So I have to be a bit careful of that. But if you are looking for longs, I'll at least wait for a pullback into 0.633 there first before looking to get into a buy. In terms of Aussie CHF, I am still currently bearish on this one. Still shorting this one, looking for a push into the wick low. Been in the trade for a while now, but I've already taken most of my positions off, so I'm kind of just letting price do its thing. There is a big, big level here at 0.562, which looks like price is rejecting so far. And I'm hoping that we can actually continue rejecting that, because if that stays true, then I do think we're likely going to see a big move to the downside for Aussie CHF. It's a really big level of support. Once, twice, a third time, fourth time over there. Could argue fifth as well over there. And now prices come to be below and looks like it's testing as resistance. So if we can respect that there for CHF, get strong close, that could be a nice trade. Stops above the high over here. Basically looking for the next lower high. So 1 and 2. And that could be a really nice short back into support down there and possibly further as well. My stop loss is still trailed just above the high there. And if we do create a new low, I'll trade it below that point there too. But what I can see for the CHF is that we're holding big resistance now. So as long as price can hold that level, I do think the shorts are looking good. If we do break above that, then it gets a little bit interesting, because that looks like another fake out to me. But the expectation for CHF is still pushed back to the wick low there. If I expand to the weekly chart, You can see that overall the market is still extremely bearish, very, very consistent with the lower lows and lower highs. I have to admit, it's not the cleanest chart in the world. It's still very staggered, very corrective. Preferably, I would like to see a bigger pullback before getting short, really. But if the level's going to hold, it's going to hold, and that could give us a really big sell. So, yeah, pretty bearish then Aussie CHF, looking for a push into the wick low. And I will be holding my remaining positions into that level. So hopefully you can get that continuation. What are you drinking? Drinking water, Campbell. Just water, nothing special. Even cold water as well. But yeah, it's because I do a lot of speaking, so need to keep myself hydrated. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with Oz CHF. And looking at some of the other CHF pairs, it looks like we could be seeing a bit of a weak, not weak, sorry, a strong CHF at the moment. Looking at New Zealand CHF. New Zealand CHF is interesting because this one's come back into an interesting area. Coming back into the lower swing high here, basically the range of it. That's where all the momentum came from. We've now tapped back into that level. I still do think New Zealand CHF is likely to take out the wick low here. So I'm wondering if we can respect this level. It's just a bit awkward because we have gone and manipulated some structure here on the left. So I don't really like it that much, New Zealand CHF. If we didn't have this move here, I may consider shorting that. But it kind of looks like to me we've got a big rejection, second big rejection, forming a big double bottom. And we've just gone and taken out structure there as well. So I'm kind of looking for something like this, for something like that, which is not something I want to jump into. So it's an awkward one because we are still maintaining lower highs. So I like that aspect of it. But it's a very kind of staggered pair. And I'm not a big fan of that rejection. It's a bit too aggressive for my liking. Yeah, it's a bit too aggressive for my liking. So I want to watch out for that. But yeah, expecting more downside for New Zealand CHF anyway. I am still bearish long term. It's just the setup isn't quite there for me just yet. Looking at some of the other CHF pairs, CAD CHF, again, still very bearish market. However, we are trading at all-time lows. So I wouldn't be so confident with the sales just yet. Looks like we're trying to come back and retest some broken support here. Time resistance, that could be a nice place for a short. Again, the pullbacks are pretty minimal. I like having a bit more stretch, a bit more distance in my pullbacks before shorting. But hey, if the level's going to hold, it's going to hold, and that could take us back into some new lows. Euro CHF. This one looks like it's running out of steam a little bit. Looking at the 4-hour chart, looks like we've had one attempt there, second attempt there, third attempt there. Looks like we're starting to kind of fatigue a little bit. Perhaps we're about to roll over. I'm not quite sold on Euro CHF just yet. We respect the low there pretty aggressively. So it might just be a bit of downside for us to pull back into for potentially a buy later on. Looking at these higher lows here, I wonder we might see a bigger correction into kind of this area, which could still be a decent trade, to be honest, if it is that big of a move. But yeah, I'm just not quite sold yet. Not necessarily coming into a great area of confidence either, so I don't really have that backing me up. So I'm not really so enthusiastic about shorting Euro CHF and Pound CHF. Pound CHF is still a bit awkward. Still do think we can break high. We've broken through major resistance there. Look and see if we can push to the upside. We might kind of pull back into support first. So that could actually end up being a nice buy. But yeah, very, very choppiness there for Pound CHF. But if you can hold 1.135, I think that's a bullish opportunity and possibly a swing back into resistance there on the left as well. So yeah, I'm pretty bullish. Not pretty bullish. Pretty bearish on the CHF pairs, bullish on the CHF currency. But I don't have a lot of opportunities apart from the Aussie CHF I'm swinging. Alfonso, have traded in Aussie CADs. Okay, we'll have a look. See. He wants you to miss the T in water. Did I say water? Did I say the T? Water. I normally say the T. Water. Water. Yeah. I'm not that lazy with my letters. I will normally say the T there. Although some words I will skip it out. Afonso, dollar CHF entry as well. Okay, so are you short? Entry, stop loss. Yeah, so you're short dollar CHF and you're short as well Aussie CAD. Let's have a look, see. Aussie CAD, I was interested in shorts last week, but it didn't look too good to me. The key thing I like about Aussie CAD is that we're still very corrective. You know, price is still doing this kind of weird corrective move to the upside, which is typically a market that is getting ready for a sell. If I whip out the fib of this move here from top to bottom, high to low, looks like we're respecting the 50 pretty well. So it is a healthy correction. We're in a healthy area where price could potentially snap to the downside. And in fairness, I do have a I do have a long-term bearish expectation for Aussie CAD. I'm still looking for us to push back into support down there. Ever since we broke out of that channel, so we had a lovely ascending channel over here. Ever since we did break out that channel, I've been looking for us to sell off. I'm questioning if this is just a correction and pullback of that for us to sell off. Not too sure. It could be. I think the fact that we are still very corrective looks good. So I think the shorts are nice in this area, but I would, of course, watch out for the high lows prices printing, which is all of these high lows here as well. But the shorts are nice. We just kind of manipulate to the highs there. You can see all those wicks to the upside, 1, 2, 3, 4. Really struggling to break to the upside down the 4-hour chart. Looks like momentum's finally shifting. This candle's going to close in the next hour and 47 minutes. So if that can close well in your favor, I think that's a nice sign that at least the 4 hours rejecting too. And I reckon we can get at least a 50% move of this bullish leg. So if I mark the 50 over there, from the high to the low, I do think we can at least get back into this kind of area here. Where's your targets for the trade? Aussie CAD entry 0.91136. Is your entries around there somewhere? Stop loss 91724. 917. Okay, so pretty big stop loss. And take profit 90. Okay, so give yourself a bit of room there to work with from the stop loss. I like it. I probably would say you could probably refine that stop loss a little bit further. Still give yourself some room, of course, but I think it could be a little bit tighter, and that way you can maximize your risk reward a little bit better. Of course, the more room you give to your stop loss, the more freedom your trade has. And I'm sure you got your stop loss there for a reason. But I'll probably have it a little bit closer. But I like the entry, really nice place for it. Kind of just as price just manipulates the highs, we do tend to reverse back again, as you can see, there. So we probably will do the same. Like I said, 50% is a nice area where price can get to. Your target's a little bit further at the big psychological level. I think that's also reasonable as well. Nothing too crazy. And yeah, I think it's a good trade. The price is still overall corrective. I do think we can snap to the downside. I wish this bearish leg had a bit more momentum in it. That'll give me a bit more confidence in shorting Aussie CAD. But yeah, I do think you're in a nice area, and the sales look pretty good there as well. So hopefully we can see a lot more downside there for Aussie CAD. In terms of dollar CHF, so I've been looking to short dollar CHF as well, but the pullback just hasn't been big enough for myself. I did say I was looking for a pullback into kind of this area of confluence with a nice support level up here, resistance there too. So I was looking for us to kind of correct a little bit further last week, but unfortunately we didn't. And it looks like price is already selling off. And you got an entry for this one at 0.88119. So Okay, it's around there somewhere. Stop loss 88664. So that's just above the high there. And TP 87574. So pretty much the wick low there. So yeah, I mean, I like the trade. I like the trade. Prices have clearly broken out this descending channel. So if that is the case, we'll like to keep falling. As long as momentum stays intact, then we are like to keep falling. Yeah, I was looking for a bigger pullback there for NZUSD, but clearly doesn't look like that's the case anymore. Price has had a pretty big push to the downside now. If we were going to have that retracement, we probably would have pushed to the upside by now. And I like the fact that we took a lot of time as well. So it just looks like we're just bleeding here. So yeah, I like the idea. Caught the breakout of the momentum. Price is likely to push back into the low. Stops in a really safe place as well. Risk reward looking about 1-to-1 there, so keeping it pretty simple. Yeah, I like the trade. Uh, I wish the pullback would have been a bit bigger, but of course that just sometimes isn't the case. Sometimes when you're looking for bigger pullbacks, you get shallow pullbacks, and sometimes when you're looking for shallow pullbacks, you get bigger pullbacks. The market isn't perfect, but in this case, yeah, it looks like price is likely to keep falling. So I like the trade there for both of them, actually. Entries in nice places. Um, in dollar CHF's case, you're not looking for too much. Do tend to see people look for shorts in this kind of area, but then have really big targets down here, which again, nothing wrong in that. The market could go and hit those big targets, but when you've already had such a big move to the downside, you don't want to be looking for another big move because particularly in FX, we do tend to correct ourselves quite a lot. The market may eventually go and hit your target down here, but we probably will come back to your entry price, or probably even a lot further before that actually does happen. Very rarely do we have a pretty big move and then have another big move, unless some big fundamental drivers are at play. So when you are taking shorts after price has already made a decent move in one direction, the best thing to do is not have too aggressive take profits. Back at swing lows are great places to have take profits. You're not looking for too much, and there's still a realistic expectation for the market to get to back into support. In the Aussie CAD situation, you can push that a little bit more since we're kind of grinding higher. If the market is going to snap in one direction, probably is the downside, and this one could be a lot bigger, could be even back to the low here, but something like that is pretty reasonable as well. So I do like those trades there for both Aussie CAD and dollar CHF. Okay, so we'll take a look at gold next. JETV, no problem. Missed a lot of trades, pound USD and euro USD because pullback's not big enough. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Again, you have to pick your poison. Pick your poison. And focus on it. You can be versatile in terms of you're going to take big pullbacks and shallow pullbacks. You can be very specific in what you want to focus on in terms of just shallow pullbacks or just big pullbacks. It's up to you. Really, a good trade is a good trade at the end of the day. And yeah, you're right. If you're always looking for bigger pullbacks, you will miss trades. You will miss shallow pullbacks because the market's not always going to have bigger pullbacks as well. And of course, if you take shallow pullbacks all the time, you will miss some of the bigger ones. But of course, the idea is that you catch the shallow ones, and that makes up for it. So it's up to what you want to focus on. You can focus on both. You can focus on one. I tend to focus on the bigger ones. Sometimes I will go for some slightly shorter pullbacks, but there is context involved with those. But yeah, it is a good point. I've missed many trades focusing on bigger pullbacks, but then of course you catch many trades as well with the bigger ones too. So yeah, Aussie CAD, dollar, and dollar CHF looking good. Let me have a look at gold. So yeah, the way I see it, gold is just looking very bullish. I've marked on the next two big psychological levels for gold. You got 3050 and 3100. So those are the next big levels there for gold. The way I see it, that price has just had another big breakout of the range. Now the next play is look for a pullback, retest the level, and then more upside. I think entries on like the hourly chart or 30-minute chart will look good. There's nothing to do right now after the breakout we just had. But if price can retrace, come back and retest around the 3K mark, I think that'll be a nice place for an entry. And if you can take it back into 30.50, that'll be a really nice trade. I would say with gold, trading stops is probably a good way to tackle it, because you just don't know how far price can go, and you might take an entry here and it might just keep going and going and going, and you can really milk gold for all it's worth there. So I think yes, you can probably have some targets where you want to secure some partials, but I think trading stops are a really good way to maneuver gold right now. But yeah, the way I see it, we've broken out a range. That would be a nice place for a pullback and a retest, and then some more upside. I still like the retest of this range. I don't think we get there anymore, or at least not this week anyway. So yeah, next big target, 30.50. Next one after that, 3100. But yeah, just looking for pullbacks to retest that level and more upside. If I drop to the hourly chart, yeah, kind of just looking for the retest of the high here. If I kind of just specify the level, that's kind of what I'll be looking at. And knowing gold, we might not even get that retest. But I do like silver a little bit more because it's not as bullish. It's still pretty bullish, don't get me wrong, but it's not necessarily at all-time highs. We've still got a major high coming our way, which price hasn't broken through yet as well. Where is it? Over there. So we still do have value there for price to get into. So if silver can pull back, I'll be all over that. But I've got to stay patient, because at the moment, we'll look pretty bullish, and we could still keep pushing. Gold up, not just demand, but falling dollar, all commodities up. Yeah, true. That is true. Yeah, USD weakness is also helping USD, helping gold drive higher as well. So yeah, a lot of factors playing into gold pricing at the moment, and it's just looking very bullish. So shorts are very, very aggressive, and it's going to be difficult to take advantage of any shorts there. Dark Sean. Possibly. I'm not looking for a big reversal just yet with pound yen. I still think there's higher prices to be had with pound JPY. We have come into a nice level of resistance. So in the shorter time frames, I do think we can probably capitalize on some nice sales. I know you're looking at the 5-minute chart. So if I drop to the 5-minute, so yeah, from a 5-minute chart, I mean, I probably wouldn't be looking for shorts now, especially after this push down. Looks like prices coming back into some areas here on the left and might be running out of steam a little bit. So might have another push to the upside actually there for pound yen on the 5-minute. But I do think, yes, we are at some areas where price can see some downside. I still think the bigger move though is still to the upside. I'm looking at 196, 197 as levels price can get to. Got a nice trend line there connecting the highs. So I do think we could still see more upside. And in fact, something like this would be a nice buy, perhaps maybe on the hourly chart in the next coming days there. But I do think pound yen can keep pushing. So yes, it's a nice level of resistance where we can see some downside. But again, how big a reversal are you talking? Are you talking a reversal as in something like that and push back to the lows here at 187, or a reversal in terms of we might see a bearish day? Because bearish day, I think that could happen. Coming back into this confluence area, I do think we can see a bearish day. But I don't think we'll probably see more than that. I mean, again, I'm always keeping a close eye on the yen basket as well. The yen basket actually is a pretty good indicator in terms of what the yen pairs are going to do. I'm looking at the yen basket right now. This does not look like it's about to reverse bullish. It might pull back a little bit, yes, but judging this one, it doesn't look like it's about to reverse bullish. If anything, it might have a bit of a pullback coming back into this area here on the left. So we might see a bit of downside from that area. But I do think we'll keep bouncing and pushing higher. And 6,500. I think that's where we could be drawn into. So yeah, for the yen basket, it looks like yen is probably going to have a bit of a breather from the drop, which might invite some yen strength, which could help out with your shorts. But I do think pound yen still got some more room to the upside, because I still think the yen basket still got room to the downside. Bearish for a few days, possibly. I'm not too sure. A few days though. Again, we're not fortune tellers here, so I can't tell you for sure if it's going to be a few days. It could very much be for a few days. But the way I see it is that price has spent quite a few days trying to go through the low here, and it's kind of just rounded off quite nicely. So we've already spent multiple days, multiple weeks trying to break through the low. So it kind of built up. And I do think price is kind of relieving itself with a bit of a breakout now. So I do think for the next few days, actually, we might see some more upside for pound yen. I can't really see sustained bearish pressure for pound yen. Of course, I could be wrong. I'm just giving you my honest opinion here of pound yen. Yes, I think a correction is on the cards, possibly back to 193, maybe 192.5, but I don't see price going further than that. So yeah, I don't see price going further than that. Yeah, we've had way too many rejections up at the high there for me to consider price suddenly going to be bullish again. We might come back into this area here potentially. What's that? 191, which would give us a few days of some of pound yen weakness. But I do think we will continue falling. Or continue rising, sorry. I do like to invert the chart just to get the kind of opposite view on the market. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm favoring there for pound yen. And euro yen is also very interesting, because I've been looking to sell this one for a while, since last week. But I've just kind of been holding back a little bit, because the yen just hasn't been ready to be shorted, to be bought. Sorry. I still think the yen basket is likely to keep falling, and if the yen basket is going to keep falling, it means more yen weakness, which means I'm not going to get the swing I'm looking for on euro yen, which is something like this all the way to the lows. I need the yen basket to be also showing me signs of potentially a swing to the upside, if I'm going to get a swing to the downside for euro yen. Of course, euro has a big part to play as well, but really what I'm looking to trade here is yen strength, which isn't quite ready yet. So keeping an eye on euro yen. Yes, we're seeing a bit of rejection now, but I think it's just healthy retracement, to be honest, for us to keep pushing. We've broken through a trend line here, which is not great in terms of the confluence. I want the price to respect the trend line. So us breaking through that is more of a bullish indication. And maybe euro yen's got some more upside to give as well. And I'm looking at some of the other yen pairs too, CAD yen as well. That's looking pretty bullish to me. While the yen pairs, Aussie yen, that's looking pretty bullish with that breakout. New Zealand yen, that's looking very bullish with that one's breakout as well. So yeah, I'm struggling to see sustained weakness for the yen pairs. And again, in the next coming days, eventually I do, but in the next coming days, not so much. Yeah, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm very focused on the yen pairs and the USD pairs for now. I really like the buys on euro, but unfortunately, euro is not pulling back either. So I've got to kind of wait for euro to do its thing. I did say there might be some nice shorts at the high here for euro. It's a bit more an aggressive trade, similar for the DXY longs as well. A bit more of an aggressive trade, but it's a nice idea, kind of expecting price to eventually pull back, which it will eventually. We don't always move in a straight line forever. We will have that bigger pullback at some point, whether it's here or 100 pips higher. But I am looking for some buys here for Euro USD around 1.075, 077, and also 1.06 down there. Those are some really nice trade ideas I'm keeping a close eye on. Just waiting for a good pullback on that. Of course, I'm still shorting dollar CAD, so I'm going to let the price do its thing on that one. There's not much for me to do. In fact, if price does reject this level aggressively, I may close the trade a little bit early, but for now, still looking pretty good. And if we can continue breakthrough support, we're likely to push back into support there at 1.415. So let the trade do its thing there. In terms of the other CAD pairs, I've been looking for some retracement, Euro CAD and Pound CAD, especially because, of course, they've been very, very bullish. I do think price is at some areas where we're likely to retrace, more so Pound CAD, because Pound CAD's taken out some major weekly resistance. Took up this high here not long ago, as you can see, and you can see last week's price action as well. Big candlestick to the upside. Now we've got a big wick there, so price is starting to stall, starting to tire, and hence I do think we'll have a bit of a pullback here. If I go to the daily chart, we've got major resistance here as well, so that's what I'm expecting price to push into. And yeah, we're kind of rounding off a little bit as well. You can see the momentum is very, very strong, but now we're looking a bit more tired as we push up. We're also looking pretty tired as we push down as well, so that tells me we might push up again. And we can see what we do at resistance, whether we double top it or if we keep breaking to the upside. But if we can provide some rejection there, that could be a nice double top for a sell. Euro CAD, Pound CAD, they do like their double top, so I would keep an eye on something like that. Pound CAD also in a similar situation as well. No, Pound CAD. I wasn't Pound CAD. I mean Euro CAD also in a similar situation as well. You can see fairly corrective to the upside. Now pretty corrective on the way back down. So again, we might push the upside again, double top, and maybe get a sell. We have to judge how price gets there and how we react, whether it's a good trade or not. Not every double top is worthwhile, but that could end up being a nice trade to look at for EuroCAD. I do think this one is in need of a bit of a correction as well. If I do zoom out, you can see what we have, a massive consolidation at the left there. If I go to the weekly chart, you'll see it better. Massive consolidation there. It did start a really big push to the downside. We're there again. And if I get rid of some of my drawings, you can see last week's candle, really big wick to the upside. Again, showing a lot of fatigue. I do think we can have a bit of relief in that as well. So EuroCAD, Pound CAD, a need for some downsides. I'm looking at Aussie CAD and New Zealand CAD, and I think they could see some downside as well. We had a look at Aussie CAD earlier. New Zealand CAD looking pretty bullish now, having a nice swing. If I whip out the old fib from the high to the low, we've now had a pretty healthy correction coming to the 50. It does look like prices kind of reversed a little bit, so I'm not as confident with the shorts as I was last week, especially with that bullish move. So I'm not really looking to short this one just yet. Keeping a close eye on it, because I do think we're in an area where we could sell off from. But I think Aussie CAD looks like much the better trade. Still respecting resistance. A lot of wicks there in the daily chart. So this looks like a much better sell there. And that could actually be a nice entry on the 4-hour chart there as well. Whereas New Zealand CAD kind of broken through resistance pretty well there. So, I mean, they're similar pairs, so they'll probably do a similar thing. But Aussie CAD might have a smoother run to the downside. So I'll let price do its thing with New Zealand CAD. In terms of the crosses, pound entities had a nice correction. We discussed that briefly. Coming back into a nice area for a long around 2.22. So keeping a close eye on that. In terms of the other crosses, so like pound Aussie, that's had a fairly nice move to the downside as well, but I would wait for a lot more downside for this one. Again, you can see after we do create major highs, price does correct itself quite a lot. So we're kind of expecting that to happen. We are picking up the pace too, so taking that into consideration. I'm not expecting as big of a correction as we've had recently. It might just be something like this, tap into a high there, and off we go. So being a little bit more cautious with the shorts. But I think something like this could look good. Perhaps come back and retest that low. It was a nice double top last week. Something like that could be a really nice short. And then you catch a trade there. Maybe coming back to retest the high there as well. So yeah, pound Aussie, pound NZD to me look like they're correcting pretty well. I really like the bearish engulfing candle a couple of days ago. I think that was on Friday. Yeah, really nice bearish engulfing candle there on Friday. That looks to me that price is struggling at the high quite a lot, and we could be looking for a bit of a sell-off. Yeah, and perhaps some longs there, like pound NZD could look really good as well. In terms of Euro Aussie, this one likewise too had a bit of a correction yesterday. Nice bearish drop, but hasn't really amounted to much. Again, when price has really big moves to the upside like this, um, the market's very, very stretched and could have a really big pullback. For example, if I draw the fib here, 50% is all the way down there, and we're nowhere near that. Have we even hit the 0.382? Nope, I haven't even hit that either. So I'm expecting quite a big correction. I'm looking for a push into this area, which lines up pretty well for 0.618. But again, we are still a little bit corrective. I think I'll keep an eye on what we can do coming into this area. That could provide a nice short on the lower time frames. If we end up running through this, then yeah, you're looking at push back into resistance up at the high. And then it'll be next to judge what price does at the high, whether we respect it or create some new highs. Eventually, we are going to have a bigger pullback with pound Aussie. It's just difficult to say when. And of course, taking short is always slightly more an aggressive trade. And again, aggressive trade doesn't mean a bad trade. It just means aggressive in nature in terms of you're going against a lot of momentum. And a good way to counteract that is really strong rejection, which so far we haven't really had yet. So it would be nice to see if price can come back into resistance and have a second attempt at rejecting that level. And in terms of Euro NZD, yeah, this one had a nice push, to be honest. Of course, NZD being pretty strong did help Euro NZD to the downside. So as you can see, manipulated the high there, came back down really aggressively. It did it again here, and I still expect us to come a lot further down, but at least come back to retest the high here would be my expectation. Pretty strong drop there for UNSD. So now looking for a bit of a pullback, a lower high and a short. I would either be looking at the retest of the low here or the retest of the consolidation here. Either way, nice places to short from on the lower time frames and catch the drop. And then targets back around 1.865, I would say. But in terms of entries, you probably be looking at like the 30-minute chart for entries there. If you really want to refine a risk to reward, that's good. For our chart, you probably won't get a good entry. Not a good entry, just good risk reward. You could get a good entry, just the risk reward might not be great. So I'll watch out for that. But overall, USD expecting a lot more downside there as well. And of course, if I have a look at euro against the pound, okay, looking slightly strong there. I do think euro GBP will continue moving up, but first I do want to see some downside first. There's a nice level of resistance here, but first I do want price to do something like this before the buy. Again, looking at the higher time frames for euro pound, you can see where we're trading, massive level of support in this area, and it does look like the monthly candle now is about to close very strongly bullish. Of course, this still does have 13 days left before it does close, so it can change a lot, but at the moment, momentum looks pretty good. You can see we've been slowing down with the wicks there to the downside, and this is potentially price forming a bit of a double bottom here to potentially reverse. So if I measure support there, price come back, respected it really aggressively. So I do think we'll probably break to the upside. There's a big level here around 0.852, which could draw price's attention. We might be heading towards that area. If I drop to the daily chart, we have left behind some nice resistance, which is going to be turned support on the left here. So that's why I'm saying I'm looking for price to correct into that. Potentially have a 50% correction of this move. It would be nice if we can tag the 50 there as well. That could end up being a nice trade back into resistance and possibly back into 0.85852 up there as well. But of course, first, do you want to see a bit of moves to the downside there for euro pound? But yeah, the way I see it, euro pound's likely going to keep pushing to the upside, which means euro is likely to be stronger than pound, which means Pound NZD and pound Aussie might be slightly better sells than Euro Aussie and Euro NZD. And of course, looking at correlation is a good way to kind of judge different markets, different pairs at the same time. And yeah, the way I see it, pound's probably going to have a better drop, or at least drop further. So I'll probably focus on those instead. But I'm kind of using that technique with the yen pairs as well. The only reason why euro yen has pulled back into a nice area is because euro has just been a bit stronger than everything else. And it kind of leaves it a bit out of sync with the other yen pairs. So I'm not shorting it right now because euro's too strong. Yen looks like it's not strong enough. And it won't be strong enough for the next few days potentially. So I have to watch out for that. And I don't want to just be shorting euro yen because of euro weakness without the yen strength. We are pulling back a little bit, leaving a bit of a wick there. I suppose we're doing that against most yen pairs. But take a look at dollar yen here. That was just rising to the upside. If we go to CAD yen, yeah, that was just starting to rise as well. Yeah, but to me, looking at the yen pairs, we've had some nice kind of rounding bottoms, which is a big indication of price getting ready to turn, especially CHF JPY, a lot of consolidation here at big low, especially when the market's had a really big move to the downside and get ready to push. Again, a big thing to keep an eye when you're looking for your trades is always making sure that the market is in a safe place where we potentially could turn in your favor. So if you're looking to short a market, you want to be in bearish territory, whether it's at resistance or supply or an area where a lower high could form or whatever, or unless you're taking out a breakout, that's a different situation. That's like breaking support. But at least even then, you're below support at that point in time. The last thing you want to do is kind of take a buy into resistance or sell into support. Sure, you might catch the breakout, but you'd rather wait for the breakout because breakout is what you're looking for anyway, and then enter. The worst thing to do is sell into a level and it just doesn't break. You might as well wait for the breakout because that is your expectation of the market that's going to break through support. So a breakout is likely to happen, and then take your trade. I don't normally take breakouts. It's not really my type of trading style, but if I was, I'd wait for the breakout anyway. But yeah, now that CHF JPY has fallen a low there, I do think some nice pullbacks. Intraday look good. I'll probably suggest the hourly chart for some pullbacks there. And that'll be a nice page for a long 171. All the yen pairs are kind of setting up in a similar way for some buys. CHF JPY, nice break there. Pullback long. Pound JPY, nice breakout. Pullback long. CAD yen, nice break. Pullback long. New Zealand yen as well. Nice breakout. That'll be a pretty big pullback for us to get there. But I do think the shorts will be looking good. That is great. Love to hear it, Sultan. Looks like we are rejecting that level pretty well, though. But again, this rejection, I don't expect it to be anything crazy. It might take us to the downside for a little bit, but I do think we'll eventually push up. It might be a nice short-term sell, but I wouldn't look into it as anything crazy. There's a lot of momentum in this bullish move. If you look at how price has been moving, look how corrective all of this behavior has been for New Zealand yen. And suddenly we see a big release to the upside and a really big push. I wouldn't be expecting now prices suddenly make a big swing to take a low. It could happen. Yeah. I'm not trying to be a fortune teller in the market because I'll be wasting my time. But probability is the best thing we can focus on. And since prices already come very, very close to taking up the low, suddenly had a big push to the upside, I do think we're going to see a much bigger relief in price before we do eventually maybe have that push down. So being very disciplined for that. We are seeing some downside now for the yen pairs, but I'm not expecting anything too crazy here. Aussie yen likewise as well. Nice rejection, but overall still very, very corrective. I think this one broke out of its trend line as well. So yeah, lost a bit of confidence there with Aussie yen too. But CAD yen seeing some nice rejection. Yeah, not as much though. And of course, if I go to the basket, that's probably looking a little bit bullish as well. Yep, just a bit. So we might have a bit of a bullish move for the yen pairs, but the yen basket might push us back into 67.75, which is that support level there. But I would be looking for resistance to get back in a lower high for the short. Yeah, but a pretty big move. Come back into some areas of on the left of supply. Price isn't respecting them too well, and now we've had a pretty big strong move. So, yep. Again, I could be wrong. Maybe this is a high low for us to push on, but because of the way we've pulled back there, I'm not as confident. I would like to see a bigger pullback there before looking to buy. Not buy the yen basket, but sell the other yen pairs. I'll keep an eye on GJ. I like the GJ shorts, but I just want this one to pull back a little bit deeper before I consider shorting. So, yeah, I'll wait for that to have a greater pullback. Not too sure if we'll get to the trend line though, but anywhere in that area, 96, 97 is a likely place where we'll turn around. Anything deeper, if we take out the trend line, take out the high there, 199, that makes things a bit awkward, at least from a bearish point of view. You seems to be strengthened. It could be. Pull back for the next 24 hours for a bigger fall. I think it will get to below 100. Yeah, I think long term will probably break 100 as well, Fonzo. I think euro long term is going to break through. Where's that swing high? 1.125, 1.13. I do think euros like take up that high there. Of course, I expect the DXY to do something similar. So I do agree. Let me have a look at the news. Okay. Oh, we've got a lot of CAD news. CAD CPI, 12:30 in about 40 minutes, give or take. It's expected to go up. Okay. We'll see how that affects CAD. But tomorrow, where are we? Ooh, that's when the Bank of Yen interest rates were. I was wondering where they were. It's Wednesday, early hours of the morning, 3 a.m. UK time. Because I remember the yen interest rates were coming up soon, but I didn't know when. But yeah, Wednesday. So tomorrow. Today's Tuesday, right? Yeah, today's Tuesday. So yeah, tomorrow. Damn. Gonna keep an eye on that. Rates are expected to stay the same. So unless the actual is very different to that, I'm not expecting anything too crazy, but it could be a catalyst to get the yen pairs moving. And then we've got Euro CPI at 10 a.m. And then we've got, the Fed interest rate decision at 6 on Wednesday as well. So, we might see that happen. And then maybe the interest rate causes some more momentum and maybe USD becomes very weak again. And Thursday, we've got Aussie unemployment rate. Friday, Thursday still, we got pound unemployment rate as well. Jobless claims for USD, inflation rate for yen. And Friday, CAD retail sales. So a bit of news this week to keep an eye on. Bank of Japan, the Fed, definitely things to keep an eye on. And those are two currencies I'm focused a lot on, looking to get ready for some shorts on the yen and yen pairs and some longs on the USD pairs as well. But yeah, we might see a bit move off the back of that. Let me see how BTC is doing. I don't think we've moved much, have we? I haven't really been hearing much about Bitcoin lately, so it means Bitcoin's doing nothing. But Bitcoin, I still like the buys around 73K, big level down there of prior resistance, which will be turned support. I like how price is moving as well, very kind of staggered. We've got one spike, and then price has a big relief, another spike there as well, bit of relief there too. So I do think as we push back in for a third time, like to push back up again. Again, I'm not necessarily expecting Bitcoin to fly to the all-time highs from this area, back at 110K, roughly 1.8. We've had a really big double top there. Price has really broken through that consolidation there quite a lot. And that kind of reminds me of the yen pairs price action, the yen basket price action. Big double top, consolidation, big drop to the downside. Kind of what the yen basket has done. Kind of like a big double top over there. Strong break to the downside. Might see price do that same thing. But anyway, that's a sidetrack. So yeah, Bitcoin looking pretty bearish. There actually might be some nice shorts if we can pull back a bit. Perhaps come back even retest 90K, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the play anymore. Price looks very, very fatigued right now. I've had a few attempts to try and break higher. I do think Bitcoin's going to likely drop next. And yeah, 74, 73K is looking like a nice place for a buy. So we're keeping a close eye on that for Bitcoin. And Ethereum's not much to say because we broke through that confluence. So it's just a very, very tricky time now for Ethereum, trading comfortably below this trend line and comfortably below that support level. It's not looking great for Ethereum. I wouldn't be surprised if it keeps falling, to be honest. Of course, if Bitcoin keeps falling as well, that will invite more downside there for Ethereum. Yeah, it's not really looking the best right now for the crypto markets, but of course, indices down as well is probably what you're going to see there. And I do think NAS 100s like to keep falling, but first, bit of a pullback is likely. I did say if we can push back into the low again, that will be a nice opportunity for a buy. Looks like we're kind of breaking to the upside there. If we stay above, that could be a nice buy as well in the lower time frames, but I would prefer an entry down here because I can get a stop loss there as well. You can get a stop loss down there as well if you buy there, just excuse with the risk reward. But the main move I'm looking at for the NAS and S&P as well is some shorts off the retest of the 2600. Really strong break, clear the 200 moving average, left behind some really strong resistance. I think that'd be a great place for a short. And if I head over to the S&P as well, really nice break to the downside, left behind some really key support. This will be turn resistance, and I think that'll be a really nice place for a short too, back into low that 55.12. So yeah, the way I see it, S&P looking really bearish. Nas looking really bearish. I do think we'll like to continue falling. Yeah, which could mean Bitcoin keeps falling because at the moment they're very correlated. So Bitcoin's like to keep falling. In terms of my watch list, at the moment, it's just really keeping a close eye on Euro Yen. It's at the top of my watch list right now. It's the only pair that's kind of in a nice area for a sell. Like I said, we have lost some confidence. I'm kind of being a bit cautious. And just because we do see some rejection doesn't mean I should hop into the trade. But I'm keeping a close eye on it because it's in an area where I do think we can turn around. And the further price does push up, the more stretch this becomes, the more likely I do think price is going to drop. It's going to take a lot for me to reverse my high time frame bias of expecting a wick into that low, a new low below that wick. Even if you push all the way back to 166.644, I will still have a very bearish bias there for Euro Yen. And as the other yen pairs come higher, pound yen comes higher, that will become a part of the watch list as well. It's not high enough yet for me to be shorting. CAD yen likewise as well. Not high enough yet for me to be shorting. I need price to at least push into 106, preferably even higher than that as well before I consider shorts. New Zealand yen's been a nice move, not too far away from a nice place for a short as well. I'm looking 88, 89 for some short areas before I let take price down. Aussie yen as well. I'm looking at least 97, 98 before I judge for some shorts. But you can see my analysis with all the yen pairs is pretty much the same. As you pushed up, looking for a lower high for a push down. And dollar yen, I like to But again, need a bit of a relief for this one. We've just gone and broken through the lows there, looking for a bit of upside. We do have some major resistance just above us. I'm looking to see if we can snap into the 50 of the fib first, just to get that healthy correction before we do turn around. I did say at the start of the week there could be some nice buys if we did form a nice double bottom there, but it looks like price just a bit too bullish there for $4 yen, and it's kind of pushed on without us. But I do think more upside is the key. If we're going to get a decent short, I'm looking at this trend line here as well, which I believe is still intact just about, which we're coming into now. Perhaps price can reject that, but I think the market is looking a bit too fatigued, so I'm not looking at another retest of that trend line, especially with the way we've kind of rounded off as well. You can see we've gone from making lower lows now higher lows. It's kind of more like a rounded bottom as we pull back. I want price to push down aggressively and then correctly push up. I don't want to get a rounded kind of shape there. That's more of an indication of reversal than a continuation. And we can see a lovely example of that on Euro lately, especially on the daily chart. Really nice rounded off bottom here, lower lows, higher lows, very corrective behavior. What happened? Massive break to the upside. Now, I'm not necessarily expecting that to happen to dollar yen, but something similar might happen, especially with the other yen pairs looking pretty bullish too. I think there's a good chance dollar yen keeps pushing. So not quite ready yet to be short. And again, that's a key thing to look at as well. How price gets to your levels, how price gets to your areas of confluence is also a key thing. You don't want to let your technical patterns and your technical tools get in the way of price, get in the way of the charts. You want it to be the other way around. Technical patterns, technical tools are a help for you to analyze price, not the other way around. So just because there's a nice trend line there, or a nice level support, a nice level resistance, or whatever, if price isn't ready to turn around, it's not going to turn around. It needs to be showing signs that's going to turn around, rejection, candlestick patterns, fatigue, before it does turn around. Sometimes, of course, price will turn on a dime, but very, very difficult to catch those moves anyway. So, yeah, price not quite ready to be sold yet, so we'll stay patient. As for the other pairs outside of USD and yen, like I said, I'm keeping a close eye on silver. Lovely break to the upside. Actually last week. Now I'm just looking for pullbacks into 35. I think we can go a lot higher than that, but that's just the next big target for us. So buys in silver look pretty good. I'm still waiting for pound CAD and euro CAD to retrace, but I don't think this is a trade for this week anyway. Price is very, very far away from 1.81, so I'm gonna have to wait a while before we can get there, before I do talk about some buys. Same thing for euro CAD as well. We are very, very far away from that level. And the level I'm talking about is this one. So that's going to take some waiting. So I'm just not going to speak too much on that just yet. Of course, at the moment, I'm still shorting dollar CAD. Going to see how that gets going. Hopefully, we see some more strength in CAD. A bit of weakness in the dollar. Hopefully, that'll take me back into my targets there. And of course, Aussie CHF, still holding on to that one as well. We are coming back to reject a really big level, so I'm going to keep a close eye on Aussie CHF, because if we do break to the upside, it might be a bit of a red flag, and I might need to potentially close the trade early. I mean, my trail stop loss is just above the price there, so I'll probably let price hit, but if it's a strong close, I could save myself a few extra pips and close out early. But you can see a really, really big level here. Support twice, third time, fourth, fifth as well. Now flip to resistance. If we can hold that, that's a great place where we could sell off from. If not, then yeah, we might actually be reversing. But yeah, still going to sit on the trade. There's no kind of red flag just yet. Just letting price do its thing, and hopefully you can eventually get a nice swing into the low. But gonna have to be pretty patient with that. But anyway, guys, we have come up to the end of the analysis. If you have found it useful, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and of course, hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. If you haven't done already, check out the Elevating Trades Discord channel, completely free to join. Make sure you check it out. You can post ideas there, share our setups. Other people will do so as well. So you can see what people are looking to trade. I share ideas there too. And of course, you can find out more information regarding elevating traders if you are interested. So make sure you head over, go check it out. I will be live every weekday this week as well. So if you want to see more of my analysis, see what I'm looking to trade, pop in, say hi. I'm live 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. UK time. So check in with us if you can. But I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Please drop a like before you do leave. It does really help out the channel, the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of the content, and of course, hit the bell too as well. But I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.